Let's talk about robotics. You mentioned in the report that Rethink Robotics Baxter robot was a potential alternative to offshoring. Tell us a little bit about how this particular robot seems to overcome some of the cost and programming related barriers to utilizing this technology.
Yeah, and robotics again, this is not a new technology, right? Robotics, unmanned vehicles running around a warehouse is not something new. I can remember being back in high school and visiting Bell Labs in New Jersey, and they had a mail cart that delivered mail to all the offices using a magnetic strip that was buried in the carpet. So the mail cart would come around, and people would pick their mail off this thing. I mean, that was a form of robotics, and that was probably 30-something years ago. Amazon now has an evolution of that robot in their warehouse. C&S Wholesale also has a robotics technology that they have bought. Baxter is something that takes it to a whole nother level. It's a very accessible technology from a cost perspective. I think an individual Baxter robot costs something in the neighborhood of $25, maybe $30,000. So it's not a massive capital expenditure. It's very, very easy to program because in many cases Baxter, which to outward appearances looks like a person, right? It's got a head, it's got eyes, it's got two arms and a torso. And the way you can program Baxter is by literally grabbing his hand, his or her hand, and holding its hand through the motions that you want it to do, clicking a few buttons as you go through that, and lo and behold, Baxter will repeat that motion over and over and over as many times as you want it to. So as you think about some of the factors that are driving manufacturing overseas and some of the repetitive, low value added, but sometimes costly labor activities, either in a warehouse or a manufacturing operations, having a low cost, very easy to program robot that can fill that need from, like a pick, pack, and sorting perspective, opens up some very interesting opportunities. And there's one distributor on the West Coast who happens to be a very prominent NAW member who's already the distributor for Baxter robots in California and sees huge potential in this.
There's another really interesting robotic system that you discuss in the report called the SmartMRO system.
Yeah, that to me also captures some of the tremendous opportunity that's out there, and it's also a little daunting and scary at times for distributor executives to get their head around. But SmartMRO is something developed by IBM actually that addresses one of the core problems that a lot of manufacturers, distributors, and other service providers have, and that is the intense competition for skilled engineering resources. In many cases, the engineering and technically skilled people within a company, are the more senior people. They've been around for a while, and the demographics are such that a growing number of those people are going to retire, and a huge amount of knowledge is going to walk out the door. The way smart MRO works is, imagine a scenario where you're an industrial MRO distributor. One of your customers calls you and says, my production line is down. I think it's the pump on production line 3. Can you send somebody over to fix that? And maybe as the distributor, you've got one person who's familiar with that particular customer's production line, but they're working on something else today. So you send out one of your more junior people to go and fix this very critical problem for a customer. Well, if they bring along Smart MRO, the way it works is Smart MRO combines a little bit of GPS, a little bit of augmented reality, so some social media, and some of the IBM Watson technology, so that the technician walks into the customer using GPS. They are guided to exactly where in the customer's manufacturing facility this particular pump is, right down to the actual inches of where. So there's no hesitation about, oh geez, where do I go on production line 3 to find this thing? They're guided to exactly where it is. They set up what is almost like a tripod behind them. It overlays, using some glasses, a 3D augmented reality image of this thing, and then there's some technology that transmits to that person step-by-step video instructions on how to replace or repair that particular pump. And if the technician has any questions, they're hooked in real time to that more seasoned technician back at their home site to provide some deep expertise or problem solving if along the way that more junior person runs into some trouble. So, it combines a tremendous amount of technology, puts it in the hand of a relatively junior technician, and yet allows them to solve some of the more complex MRO type maintenance issues with a very high degree of precision and accuracy and efficiency. There's a very good video that's available on YouTube that captures a scenario of exactly this.